In this episode, we explore how social media is affecting relationships, the objectification of ourselves, the rise of egocentrism, and the potential shift towards polyamorous relationships. So join us as we take a deep dive into the topic of social media and relationships on the Eyes on Growth podcast. Squiggly, squiggly, squiggly line.
All right.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Luciano. See, now it's more natural because we just finished 45-minute recording
And nothing got recorded again.
Well, we've only done this 6 or 7 times where we only messed up 3 or 4 out of 7. So
great percentage of success. So what were you talking about before we started recording?
Yes. For me, what's interesting, it was basically we had a conversation about Instagram, but the point that I would like to get into is the effects of Instagram and the commoditization or the objectification of ourselves, and what the effects of that are on like our psyche. Like how do we value ourselves? Because before we put on the cameras, I told you like in the younger generation, I think every girl, let's just focus on the girls for this example. So every girl that is decent looking now has probably 1,000 followers, if she wants, at least. Like if she wants to be on the social media and position herself on the marketplace in that sense for whatever, like attention or actual lovers or providers or relationships or whatever you want to call it. Like if that's what you want, if you're a decently attractive girl, you're gonna have a lot of followers, and these followers, every time you basically post a story basically showing off a bit, you're gonna get I don't know how many messages. If you have 1,000 followers, there's a lot of guys who are just gonna be like, hey baby, you look hot, like whatever.
That's how you talk to the Instagram girls. Hey baby.
Hey baby. I don't know. I don't really. Maybe I should. I mean, not now, but like when I was single.
A lot of fire emoticons.
Exactly. But basically, people respond, and because of that, I would say, like a hot girl has, in a superficial sense, even though I don't even think that's the right way to put it, because like as men, we value sexy looking women. Like this is just something we enjoy, and the personality is very important if you want to have a relationship, but if not, it's less important. But on the social media, like you don't really display your personality, you display this very
the physicality.
The physicality, exactly, your body. So then you basically are selling that part of yourself to the world, and that part of yourself gets constantly reinforced. So now a girl who's just turned 18, first, like she got the validation, and the world told her that her looks are what mattered always, because that's what the world's been telling you, because you get like guys are telling you, girls even are telling you, like
immediate feedback.
Exactly.
Right? As soon as she posts, bam, bam,
yeah,
bam,
but even before social media, I think women need, like society tells them, you need to be beautiful, you need to be good looking. Like that's what we, like both men and women, we tell women. And then, I mean, she will focus on beauty more than an average guy, right? An 18-year-old girl versus an 18-year-old guy, the girls will focus more on beauty because that's what's deemed to be important by the opposite sex in society than a guy. A guy is like, you have to be successful, also look good, but like, you know, be a guy, like, you know, be a better person and as a whole. So, but with Instagram now, so it's not like the couple of guys that you want the attention from as an 18-year-old girl that will give you the attention. No, like I don't know how many guys will text you, will give you likes, will send you the flame emotions to your stories. So now what I'm afraid that what happens is that, so you're 18 and you want to be accepted by the world, and so what you do is you position yourself in a sexy, attractive way on the internet, and you get validated by that because so many people, like, you look hot, it's nice, and the ego builds like, yes, I'm hot, I have value, I'm good looking, I'm attractive. So what then do you think is the next thing that's going to happen? Is the next thing that's going to happen, I'm now going to read a book, I'm now going to go read Freud and develop my inner world, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to do some charity work, and I'm going to whatever, like anything that's actually building your personality? Or do you think the next step will be, I'm gonna find a nice bikini and I'm gonna like for 30 minutes position my ass in a way that it looks the best, so I get some more of that sweet validation?
So what you're saying is that Instagram promotes physicality over any inner value.
Exactly. It promotes, like, I think, because in the conversation we just had before when we lost it.
You guys will never see
exactly.
because we didn't record it.
Sadly. You told a story about dating this or having a date with this super hot Instagram person, and after 30 minutes you were like, I want to leave.
I was actually, this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. And I've also had that same experience. There was like a girl who had a lot of followers and was very attractive, like a model, and I didn't even want to spend any time with that. I just was like, nope, you know. And the reason I think is because now the reward is so big of being hot, which is relatively easy because if you have the right genetics and you go to the gym and you have a lot of makeup, you don't have to do makeup
and filters, then you get that attention. So the reward of amplifying that part and only that part is very high, because you get a lot of validation online, and then also on the short so as a girl, then you maybe go on Tinder or you meet guys, right? So you then, if you're hot, you can date or at least meet with very attractive and interesting guys. Or just very attractive guys, because the same applies to
exactly.
guys nowadays, now than ever.
Exactly, very attractive guys, very interesting guys, or successful guys, like at least the best of the best, let's just say. So the secondary effects is then when this girl starts seeing people and sleeping with people, is going to be like the very hot or successful or whatever she likes, because she can choose. These are the people that she will be with. But
the thing is, I think this whole validation, the electronic validation, the online validation, is fake. It's not real. She may feel better for a second, this hot girl that's posting her ass or whatever. She may feel better for a second, but since it's not real validation, the craving for more will be almost immediate. Since it's only little hearts on your phone, it's not a guy actually, or a girl actually telling you, wow, you look amazing, or you did something amazing. It's only online little cartoons. Yep. Eventually it fades away faster and faster and faster. Then you put this together, that when she actually meets people in the real world, the feedback is not the same like I had, where we just wanted to run away. Then this person, she gets conflicting signals, right? Super validated on the online platforms, yet in real life not validated at all.
That's a good question though, because I don't think that's true, because I do think we are more sensitive than average guys, and there's also guys just, I want to fuck, like the type.
But
like,
then they fuck and they don't ever call her again, because if she never had to develop a personality.
Yeah, but in my experience, that girl that you were not interested in and that girl that I was not interested in their perspective, probably it's not them, it's us, right? We are just boring because other guys make the effort of jumping through the hoops and entertaining her, and we are just the boring guys, probably, in her experience, I think.
We should bring in an Instagram
exactly
hottie and just ask her, because normally I think these are very insecure people.
Yes.
They need that validation, especially because they don't have it from the real world. Not the actual validation, the validation of love. When somebody honestly comes up to you and goes like, wow, you're amazing.
Yes. So that's the thing I'm scared of. So these girls, they start basically they get the validation online, and maybe they're dating people, but they cannot really hold the relationships because they've over invested themselves in their looks and their appearance, and they didn't invest in what actually, what makes you want to spend more than 30 minutes with someone, right?
There's personality, things to talk about, whatever.
There's no investment. So then you get, in the end, if you were looking for a relationship, like, it's nice that you have a good body, don't get me wrong, but I mean, if after you have sex you just want to leave, I don't think that's a good base for a relationship,
It's not.
So then you get, in my opinion, it's so addictive, this social media, this validation, and if you're hot and as a young is that the word influential? That you're
Influencer.
that you're easily influenced. Influential.
Yeah, you're easy influenced.
You're easy influenced. Anyway, if you're easily influenced as a young person, as a young girl, I think many people nowadays will overinvest in like the superficialities, right?
Okay, but what I still don't understand is what does the superficiality bring? Why do we do this? What do you think the end purpose is? As a person that's heavily invested in the superficiality, if you want to make millions and that's your way to make money, okay, whatever. But most people just do stories, unending stories, every day, every single day, and they don't have millions of followers. They're not making any money out of it. They're not getting a huge validation, just a little bit of validation. What's the end game? I don't get it.
Of creating Instagram stories.
Yeah, or just being that persona, being the persona that shows her in specific situation. When she just woke up, she puts on makeup and she makes a picture and I just woke up. And they present themselves in a better way. But what are they actually after?
Connection and validation.
Love, I think. No? Eventually. And to be loved, to be accepted, to be worthy. It's a weird game.
We're living in a world of need instead of a world of abundance. As in, we all need a lot of love, and like our society has become very disconnected in the sense that we don't have strong friendships and family ties. Like we spoke about last time, maybe 2 times ago, with the amount of good friends people have is about 0 now compared to 7 or 9, 20 years ago average, which is terrible. And then what we spoke about with the relationship as well between me and Blanca, as in the moment you're abundant, you're so happy with who you are and you just want to share it, that's the moment where you can actually give true love and you can actually attract someone. You can be in a loving relationship because you're overflowing basically. Most people are in a position that they're extreme needy because they probably have less friends than they want, and the people they're friends with are also needy, so they're also on some Instagram, but they want so much from the world because we have been cut off, our roots have been cut off, or we have cut off our own roots. I don't know, but I think that's a major problem, and that's why a lot of people, like everyone now, is just give me the attention, and everybody's competing for the attention of other people who also need attention.
And that's what brings us to the point which we were talking about, the non-recorded session, which is when you create something just to create something for itself, as you said in that one, that will probably bring you happiness. If you're creating something just to get the attention, to receive, to blah, 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 for an end effect, that will not make you happy in the long run. It will never make you happy in the long run. If you just do the work for the end purpose, I'm sorry, but you're fucked. If you do the work because of the work itself, then you might have something in your hands, no?
I think even Instagram... Oh, I have cramps. That's not great.
Drink water.
Even in the Instagram world, if you're an influencer, like you can still be an influencer that's...
Are they that bad, the cramps?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Oh, my God. So, even if you're an influencer, like your job is to influence. You want to but also you want to make money, right? It's the same as, again, the conversation we had that then got recorded in the end. But if you're an influencer, you can be super creative, actually. You can make very cool stories. As in, if you want to promote for a brand, I don't know, whatever you want to promote, you can make some crazy, funny, or visually attractive, good-looking content, and you tell a nice story even. You can really take pride in it. You can really make something cool out of it. But if you're not doing that, then yeah.
Which is why I think that you can never make it at anything if you're just looking at the end result. Not as an influencer, not as a YouTuber, not as at any job in the world, not as an e-commerce owner, not as a podcaster. If you're just looking at the end result, I want the money, I want the fame, I want the validation, blah, blah, you will never make it because you're not enjoying the day-to-day. You are not enjoying what you're doing. You're sacrificing the now for the future, as a wise man once said, and you will never get there. So our recommendation was learn how to enjoy today, the now. Do not sacrifice the now for the future. And whatever shit job or good job or whatever you're doing, just try to enjoy the right now, no?
Yeah. Do you think that people... do you think, like, social media, because you say everybody's posting stories now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think people are becoming more, like, self-involved, egocentric nowadays than they were in the past?
I don't know. I think there's a broken thing in perspective nowadays. Since you do not normally have a lot of close friends anymore that can give you actual feedback, yet you take your feedback from social media or wherever.
What do you mean by feedback?
Well, when you were growing up and you had 5 or 4 friends and you were being a douchebag, somebody would come up to you, one of your friends, and would just tell you you're being a douchebag.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you're being a douchebag on social media, you might get haters, which you choose to ignore. You might get loves, but it's not real feedback, not in my opinion. When first of all, you're not presenting reality, you're presenting a filtered picture with a great ass, which is 1 out of 1,000. And second, the feedback via online platforms is not real because it's not a face-to-face interaction. You can say whatever you want if you're behind a keyboard, right? So this creates a disconnection of the people with what reality is. And I think that has changed hugely over the last 10 years, not even more. People sit at their home or at their job or whatever, and they think they're worthless because they didn't reach 1,000 likes. Worthless. Who cares about those likes? While they maybe have a very good friend telling them they're amazing, but they will choose to believe the online platform over their really good friend. While this one is super distorted. So yeah, I think it's getting worse and worse and worse, and it might get even worse soon.
So basically we are... the wrong values are being reinforced, you would say.
Well, who are we to define what's right and wrong? But yes, the values that make you happy, or me at least, those are not being reinforced. The values that make me unhappy, those are being way too much reinforced lately. Just watch more Netflix, eat more shit, blah, blah. All these things that do not add to your happiness are more easily accessible now than ever before. Right? Every kid has a phone, and with a phone you have the world in your hands. And yet, instead of looking up interesting stuff, we spend our time, me, myself included, on Instagram. I could be learning stuff, I could be researching stuff, I could be doing more interesting stuff, but I spend time scrolling to those reels, and deep down I start out scrolling feeling here, and afterwards I feel just a tiny bit shittier.
What do you think the long-term effects are of this behavior? Let's say we now go in our time machine that we have under our tables, which is we fold it out, you get into the time machine, 20 years in the future, and you're in Barcelona. And we have a new generation who basically has grown up with their phones. they were 12 when they probably soon earlier, but they were 12. They got their phones with 7G internet and full, I don't know, like basically what we have now, but even more extreme for 20 years.
Virtual reality.
How are these people, like, what are the long-term effects? Like, how are men and women who are then 32? Like, what's the effect of this?
I think if we continue on the road we have been going on for the last 10 years, social detachment will increase.
How would you define social detachment?
I mean, people unable to communicate verbally, I mean, face to face with other people. People unable to say hi on the street. It's already happening. Yes. People cannot say hi to a girl. A guy cannot say hi to a girl, or a girl to a guy, if there hasn't been a Tinder date meeting agreed to before. People cannot walk up to each other and just ask for the way to the nearest kiosk. They open up Google Maps. So we are all retracting into our own personal bubble unless we start actively fighting against this. By fighting against this, I mean you have to eliminate a little bit of the social media addiction. You actually have to force, in my case, I have to force myself and go up to a girl if I like her, or say hi to this cool dude I want to meet and maybe hang out with or whatever. 20 years from now, if these kids are born with phones in their hands, how will they ever learn to overcome shyness? Why would they? Why would they want to ever learn to overcome shyness or the fear of approaching anybody if at home they have the virtual reality helmet where they can escape into a world of Blixblur or whatever, right? So yeah, it sounds scary. We will all be divided. There will be no more real union amongst people. It's a bit extreme, but hopefully I'm scaring somebody and convincing them to deinstall some of these apps.
How do you see dating life for these people? Relationships, let's just say. Like, what's 32? We're now again, these people now turned 32 or 30. They've been in the social media world.
The ones that are 12 now, right?
Yeah.
Again, to me, it's going to be hard. How do we learn how to handle relationships? By having them, by failing at them. Like everything else in life, you have to try, you have to fail, then you have to try again. And then maybe you fail again, and eventually you get it right, or at least you know what you want and what you don't want. If all you've done your whole life was getting likes on Instagram and meeting people based on their Tinder profile, you haven't really tried, have you? You have not gone up to that girl and said, okay, I'm gonna suffer through this conversation until my heart stops beating really, really fast, and then maybe I become a normal person again. No, you scrolled through her Tinder profile, then you went to Instagram, scrolled through her Instagram, and this is all you know. So eventually these people will end up marrying maybe or not, but they will be together and they will have very little real life relationship experience. It's going to make it harder and harder to have real couples.
I do think the same. Like, I'm really wondering what will happen on a relationship, on a level of relationships and with 20 years of this, because women tend to date up. So if you're socially, so if you're a girl, guys are not that picky most of the time. So a high value guy, whatever that means for the specific girl, will, on a bad day when he cannot be with someone else, would be with a 9 will be with a 6, but a 9 as a woman will never be with a 6 as a guy in value. It doesn't have to be looks, but let's just define value as the value you have for the other sex, which could be looks, money, personality, like anything.
Whatever,
but basically the total value of that person, a woman will basically never date lower or fuck lower, and the guy is more inclined to do that, basically.
Unless she's shit-faced.
Yes, unless she's shit-faced, Luciano. Thank you for that
beautiful input.
Exactly. So what I have no idea how relationships are going to be, because girls will have access to not only Instagram but these dating apps, like they have access to the cream of the crop, the best of the best all the time. Like all the time they can, whatever they think is best, they can get. I mean, not all of them, but if you have a selection of, maybe they want to be with some girls like a specific doctors, I don't know, or maybe people, guys with abs, or guys who seem like they have money, like whatever, like, or anything they want, they can select for, and there's like 100 or 1,000 guys who fit that profile, and then not everyone will be like, hey, yeah, let's meet up, but a decent amount of guys will, if you're decently attractive, will basically be willing to meet up.
Mm-hmm.
While in the past, if you go to high school and then you go to university, you're way more in your bubble. You basically, what we did was we went out. I know, crazy idea. We went to discotheques to dance and be awkward and talk to people. And then the guys who actually had the confidence to step up to a girl, those were the interactions you had as a woman. Like as a woman, because most women would be in a more passive role. And then the guys that would step up to them were still relatively limited, the opportunities. And now it's just exploded. You have access to like probably 100 times easily more guys than in the past, at least.
Do you? Because to me, yes, of course, on Tinder they have a billion choices,
Yes.
right? But then they meet these choices. And normally, you talk to any girl, normally it's one fiasco after the other.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very hard, exceptions. There are exceptions, but it's very, very hard to find somebody who you really match with,
Mm-hmm.
because you're basing your decision on looks.
Yeah. Because the guys have the same. The guys, who are these guys? I spent some time with. I was having a conversation with a guy, like an acquaintance, and you had this theory that, like most girls, they don't sleep around that much, and like all of the guys are basically always fucking the 20% of girls who are more open and free and sexual. And the other 80%, they're very limited in who they don't do a lot of one-night stands.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, I think it's the same, that like the top 10% of guys who most women like a lot, who also have a lot of options, right? Because these guys have the same problem that the good-looking or high-value women have, is that suddenly they can be relatively shy and awkward because they just have to have a good Tinder profile and they can meet, and then still they can have sex with a very, very large amount of women compared to in the past, and also probably even have relationships. So these 10% of guys that are all the girls are after based on the online persona, they have so many options, they don't want to settle down anymore. They don't want a relationship, or you have to be very special. So the girls are focusing on their looks, appearance, because that's how, in theory, you get the validation and the guys to be attracted to you, right? Because that's, again, you get the instant validation and likes and people talking to you online. And then they have, because of that, they have the possibility to go for the top 10% of guys. But the top 10% of guys, they have very low incentive to settle down now, because they have options as a guy to live your life and then have a lot of women in your life. And I don't know, just have your life be amazing with or without that woman. Like, why would you need a partner? It's a lot less necessary now as in the past. So then that's my whole point. Like, you get a conflicting situation for these girls. They're like, there are no good men anymore. And actually what's happening is now the top 40% of women all think they can and want to date in attractiveness levels the top 10% of guys. And the top 10% of guys, like maybe only half of them wants to settle down at some point. And the top 5% that just can be single and enjoying life on their terms for as long as they can or want, because, you know, they're attractive guys. They don't have to settle down. So then all of the guys who are not on this top 10 or 20%, like, the girls are getting jaded because they are only dating or having sex with like the top 20%, top 10% of guys, or mostly. So these girls are getting jaded, and these guys have no personality or no, you know, because they don't need to have that much to offer. They have to be valuable in in one or two aspects, like looks or money or status, but they also don't have to have the personality that makes you want to stay with them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So basically you have two groups of people who don't have the incentive to actually build the relationship muscle. Like they don't know or want to how to be in a relationship. They know how to be attractive but for the short term, but not in a relationship. So you end up, I think, with all of these women who feel like they should be able to be with the top percent of guys, and then they get older and older, and at some point the value goes down because we men, I'm sorry to say, but we like young, attractive, hot-bodied women. Well, the older you get, the less you're going to have that, and then your value in the dating market is going to go down. So then you have the 7 as a woman who thought she was a 9 because she was dating or having sex with or getting validation from the top guys. Like she's getting older, and then a 7 as a guy, she's way better than a 7, right? How can she be with a 7 as a guy? Because she's been around 9s all the time, like ballers, like, I don't know, tall, handsome, successful, ripped bodies. That's the guys that she went on dates with, not the guy who just has a good job, who's decently looking, who has he's a good personality, he's a caring person, but he's not like balling out of control. So that's what I see. Like if you extrapolate that into the future, which I think you're already seeing now, is that the girls, they basically surround themselves with the best, the most highly valuable, highly valuable, the most
high value,
the most high value men. These men don't want to settle down, and then at some point they want to have kids in a relationship, but they think they're reaching up all the time. But the guys who are on that high position, they won't settle if they don't get a really, because they're also, their value is super inflated because they think, yeah, I can just open my Tinder and just fuck some new girl and it's
so
fine.
So what you think it's gonna be loneliness?
I don't know what it's gonna be, but I am afraid. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think there has to be. I think there's going to be a very big societal shift in the sense that relationships, as we know them now, have to go a huge like shift in how we have them. Otherwise, it is going to be loneliness. Like you have to imagine, like I think for most men, it's going to be extremely difficult to get a relationship because most women now have so much availability to get validation and to have sex with or have like short-term relationships with the best guys. And these guys have the ability to be with multiple women at the same time, dating them even at the same time, and or at least having sex with them at the same time. So then we have a very large group of men who I think will have very little sex. So I think sex in the beginning, like because we had the church and we had like monogamy, it was like democratized. Like every man and women can always have sex, but nearly every man, not every man, but like a very large part of the population ended up having a wife because that's what we did. We married, and according to the church, you couldn't have sex outside of marriage. So you at least had like a sexual bond and a family with one person. And now what I think is happening is that like sex is becoming, the sex will be for the winners basically. As in men, if you're a very, very successful guy, in what sense a very high value guy, a lot of women will want to have sex with you. And even if you're like 60, 70 percentile, well, in the beginning that would be great because the girls didn't have access to all of the top. But now I think in that if you're in 60% or lower or 70% of lower, it's going to become increasingly hard to both have sex or a relationship with someone who's on your level without reaching down, by a lot. So I don't know what's the impact of that's going to be, but I think it's going to be very impactful to say the least. Like maybe more polyamorous relationships, more open relationships, or just less relationships in general. Like I don't know.
If we continue on this path, I think it's going to be less relationships in general. But I think one of the main problems on why we are on this path is that where we put the value, just how you define the value just now, even if it is an accurate reflection of society, and that people just want to date in their same value area, that they are mostly focused on looks or money or blah, and not as much focus on personality, etc. So I think in order to propose a solution, you would need to go down on which reasons are behind people making these kind of value choices. Why a girl that's a 9 only wants to date a 9 or above? Why a guy that's a 10 or a 9 doesn't want to settle? What are the things behind all of this?
But do you think nature wants the 10 as a guy to settle?
No, nature wants the guy who is a 10 to continue the species in the best way possible, right?
Yes.
So you think it's nature driven?
Yes, I do think it's like. Okay, here we go.
You're going into
Yeah,
dangerous waters, my friend.
Exactly. I don't know how we used to have sex in the past. Nobody knows if you were.
But that's
that's two options.
Okay,
like,
let me answer this real quick, because in the past there was a combination of factors which made you feel attracted to someone. It wasn't only looks. It wasn't only social standing. You smelled that person. You felt how you felt with that person.
Yeah.
And this is what we're losing today, because that's how you breach the gaps. This is how you breach the gaps, or you, as you said before, when you were in the discotheque and a guy came up to you, first of all, okay, he had the balls to come up to me, huge plus. And then his chatter was interesting, another huge plus. And then he made a joke that made me laugh. So suddenly the whole physicality, if he has money or not, all of that is falling a little bit behind. It's not important anymore.
Exactly. It's more the real thing, the experience that counts.
Not only the experience, but the whole package that counts.
Yes.
What we're doing today with social media is we're reducing a human being to only a couple of aspects. And people are making decisions on that. And yes, I think the only way to counteract that, if you just deinstall the fucking Instagram or whatever, don't don't take decisions based on what you see on these platforms. Take decisions on what you feel whenever you meet a person. Is he or she making you feel great? Good, go for it. Even if he's a 6 or a 4 or a 3 or a 1, who cares?
Yeah, but the biggest problem is that if you live in a society, which we just spoke about, is that if everybody is suffering the effects of being on the phone most of the time and becoming more socially awkward, and if you disconnect and you're just being a person, and just by talking to someone you scare them at some point, because that's how it's going to be. If people are so socially awkward and so in their own safe space, then there has to be a societal shift. If you disconnecting, or a couple of people, it's difficult to live in the world, I think.
Well, it's starting to happen already. You're thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Many other people think about it.
Yeah, but I have a relationship.
Yes, that's why I'm still on Instagram. Probably.
That's the point.
Yes, but I am very aware of how much time I spend there. I try to spend as little as possible. And a friend of mine also just deinstalled everything. And many other people are trying to do the same. And to me, it's like everything. New technology appears, there's a huge rise, then it either balances out or it drops again. Hopefully for this one, it's going to drop, because if not, we're going to be fucked. Nobody will have true love in their life anymore, because everything will be based on these weird apps. On the other hand, if we are aware of what we're doing, if we create that awareness like we're doing right now, and some people go like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I won't look at social media for a while, and then these people contagion the people around them, then we have a shot.
That's very possible, and I do hope that happens as well.
It's hard though, because the advertising world within these apps is huge.
It is.
It's a huge machinery, and it's growing so fast every day.
I wanna go back for a second to the 10, the guy who's a 10, and the question if it's if nature wants him to, settle down. Like, does nature really want a 10 as a guy? Like, a 10 is then just a high status.
Nature wants him to fuck around as much as possible.
That's what I think as well. So the point, in general, even though we've defined value in a very flat way, like it's based on a few traits now, but the 10 should not settle down. If the 10 finds the love of his life at 15 and is with her for the rest of his life and has never have sex with any other girl, man, that's for nature, that's a waste. Like, he should be at least single until he's 50 and at least just like you're trying to be, Luciano. You're the mega chat 10. You're the
nine more years, but
yeah, exactly. So, I think nature wants this guy to basically have sex with as many women as he can. If it's like let's just say he's a 10 based on his looks and his intelligence level, or like the guy who is like super adaptive, who can adapt super well to any situation. So physically strong, intelligent, and socially able, I would say. And that person, like the superhuman, should, I think, spread his genes as most, according to nature, should do that more. So if we look at
this brings us to a question: should we aim for relationships then?
Yeah. So my question is, like, what we're doing now. Actually, is it a problem to solve, or is this the solution to a problem we've created?
No, I don't know.
As in,
it's a good question.
Basically, what's happening now is women have access to the best genetic material 24/7, right? Nature wants those women to get pregnant by these guys. I mean, I'm just, it's...
At least you're getting a little bit nervous.
No, I mean, it's the truth, and that sucks. It's very harsh, but I think... So I don't know how we had sex in the past when we were a tribal society, because you have the bonobos who just... they fuck all the time, you know? So basically, they want a banana, and then you have sex, and then the other monkey gives you the banana. Like, it's very... Where it's like, hey, good morning, you want to fuck? And they fuck everyone, right? But
sounds
probably...
terrible.
I don't know. So basically, I don't know how humans are, if they're like bonobos or not, but at least we have a very broad, both women and men have a very broad sense of sexual attraction. It's not the women, they might be more attracted to the 10s, but they're still attracted. If you're in the right situation at the right time, they can still be attracted to somebody else. You know, it's very situational, the attractiveness levels.
Your theory could work if we wouldn't live in a society based on family, I think. If we were living in a tribal society where everybody takes care of the children, then sure. But right now in our society, it's family based, and you will not have children until you have kind of an established relationship normally, and a kind of an established relationship with certain income, etc., that will give you a foundation to create a family. So what's happening right now is, yes, the 10s may meet and have sex. That's normally going to be kind of protected sex. So there will not be any evolution from that standpoint, right? The seed will not be spread from that standpoint. And what we established before is that if we continue in this path, no new relationships will be made.
Yes.
I mean,
also only between, there's still going to be relationships, I think, between very high value people. Like, but it's just the 80% of the relationships are going to disappear. But this is I think it's possible that, like, in a naturally, like, okay, first of all, in the past we had a tribal society because we had to be with a tribe, otherwise we would die. We were in nature. Those other tribes, they wanted to kill us or take our land or however. So we had to be with many people to protect ourselves from the rough environment we're in, right? Now we're in a society, yes, we still need each other, but obviously it's a lot less because we're more like in a system that's getting automated more and more each year, right? We have algorithms we have like specific AIs we have customer service chatbots, we have Tesla's fully automated factories. There's many people who are not needed anymore by anyone, sadly, you know, in that sense. So my point is, I mean, I'm not saying it's a very a happy situation for most people, because it's not. But if we go in our time, if we put the time forward for like 30, 50 or 100 years, and you say we don't need each other that much, we're more and more individualized, we're going to rely more and more on technology, there's going to be, and that you already see it with Tinder and the dating apps, like I think there's going to be a shift where the natural tendencies of human beings are going to be amplified. So the women who have the access to the high quality man, some of them will, like if you have a society where we don't need each other anymore, right? And we are kind of automated in technology, like a harem kind of situation where multiple guys have like a lot of women, like the very high value guys have a lot of women. That's, in my opinion, a more logical, that's a more logical relationship dynamic to have than what we have now, basically. Because these women, they want to be with these guys. They still want to have a family. And a lot of the other guys, they just don't, they're not necessary anymore.
But you're just looking at it from a logical point of view. I get your logic, but you're excluding everything feeling. People are searching for their own happiness. I cannot see a scenario where multiple women are happy with one high value guy just because he's the best genetical choice. Women want to feel special. Everybody wants to feel special. They want to feel loved. And we're doing the exact opposite with social media. Nobody's feeling special. Nobody's feeling loved because everybody knows that everybody else has a million options at the press of a thumb. If we continue this current path, eventually people will keep meeting. They might have sex, but relationships in itself, I don't think they will form that much. Even high value relationships, because you're still basing your decisions on pictures and status symbols instead of how you actually feel towards this person.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult for sure. And I think it's definitely going to be less and less. And I also agree that people, how we live now, that people want to feel special and they want to feel loved, etc., etc. But I also think that's like something like we need to get over, basically.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, why?
You should feel special because you're special, not because somebody else tells you you're special. You should not.
Agree.
So
I agree on that part. Still, once you feel special, once you emanate that vibration of abundance, or what we were talking about before, that's when you attract that other person into your life, right? That's when you actually can create happiness. But it's a two-way thing, I think. Once you bring that from, I'm thinking what I'm speaking of. Once you bring that out, that's when you attract the other part.
The other part, I mean, that's the point. Like, I think relationships are over mostly in that sense. The classical, yes, it's done.
It's done?
It's done. No,
marriage is done?
Marriage is for sure, I think it has to be, because it doesn't work anymore in the environment that we're moving towards. So, and we're already becoming more and more individualistic. So, I think that we as human beings, if we want to be happy, we need to learn how to love ourselves and to, very cliche, but to love ourselves and to be happy with ourselves and not look for that in the other person. So now again, you have the group of women who is going to, like, if you date to the same level, you're going to be even less happy than 50 years ago, because you're dating up, but now you can date super up. So it's way more difficult to get into a relationship because of that. And also the men, they get less formal training in a relationship, informal training. They are in less relationships who are not in the top. So the relationship, and they, even if they have the same value, if they would be in a partner, in like a long-term partnership relationship, they don't know how to have relationships. They are probably very jaded and angry because these women, they don't want them anymore. So the whole situation becomes very difficult to live in. So I think relationships, like we have, like, again, that's when I come back to the bonobos, like either we we embrace our sexuality more. As in, I don't think we should have to be this restrained. I think way more people would have sex with way more people if we wouldn't been conditioned to
Agree.
do so.
100%.
So basically, either we have our sexual needs met, and women have sex with more people, and men like, so sexual frustration ends in that sense, or we don't, and then you get like a very big group of men who is sexually frustrated, I think, and a very big group of women who is relationship frustrated, and the same group of men is also frustrated with the relationship. So that's a trigger to, in that situation, like spiritual teacher Anthony de Mello, he's like, if you have a big problem, a spiritual problem, a psychological problem, you can go to a psychologist to solve it. But most people go to a psychologist to put like a band-aid on the problem. That sometimes, and if you really want to solve a problem, you have to go deeper in the pain to to actually heal, right? So now we're going to be in a very painful situation on a societal level, because these men who cannot, they're looking for love and they're looking for sex somewhere else instead of themselves, which is super difficult to do. If the world rejects you, how can you accept yourself, right? Same for the women, like they want to have the relationship, or they want to have, but they can also not get it. So at that point, like, there has to be a spiritual, there either has to be a societal change that is like, okay, we have to have a more liberal view for sex, and we're not going to judge it, and we live in a more, in, I think, a way that's more aligned with nature, that there's less sexual frustration, and then all kinds of relationships will form.
I like that.
But not a relationship in a monogamous kind of sense. It's just like, if you have sex with people in a right way, you actually form a relationship. It can be, and I don't mean a relationship as in a year, like years and years. I mean, you actually, that person in a sense becomes part of your life if you do it in a fulfilling way, right? If you don't do it like, it's not fast food, it's actually a healthy way to, because it's a big thing to have sex with someone. Anyway, so either that happens where we embrace that more, and we start having sex like bonobos more, and we take care of each other more, because now it's just, and then there's less sexual frustration. But then in that situation, like, the concept of a monogamous relationship is gonna be gone.
So what you're proposing is to actually unite more as humanity.
No, so that's one situation. The other one is that basically there's gonna be like, these women will be with the top percent of guys, and there's gonna be a lot of frustration sexually for the guys, and relationship wise for the guys, and for the women a lot of relationship that they needs that are not being met. So in that situation, I mean, you said the woman will not be happy with the guy who is sharing that guy with 10 other women. Like, I don't know.
Well, if in a harem scenario, if everybody is having sex with everybody, then they shouldn't be unhappy. Everybody would clear out their own rules with whatever partners they engage with.
Yes.
This I like way better. The harem situation where we have one prince who has 100 women at his disposal.
No, let's say like every successful guy has 8 women and every unsuccessful guy has 0. Like, that's, I think, a situation that could, like 4. I think that's something that could happen in the future.
I think the choices women make in regards of their sexuality are basically very much based on the sexual restrictions we have been imposed by church, state, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If there weren't any sexual restrictions imposed by humanity, well, you would sleep around more. You wouldn't associate sex with status, with standards, etc. So yeah, I think you reached a very good point where, since it's human made, the sexual restrictions, if we take them away, which is a choice, it could lead to a lot of benefit on a global scale, on a societal level.
Yes, but we will have to say goodbye to relationships as they are.
Which, are they working?
No.
Exactly. Monogamy in the human being is doubtful at best. It's been imposed by the church, it's been imposed by the states, it's been imposed by your family and your society.
And it's
Does
been
it work? Not really.
no, but it works in a sense that we needed it again. When we were living in tribes, we needed each other way more than now. Like it's been, we needed a big group of people to survive, and then that became less and less and less until again, if we move into the future with more automation, it's becoming even less. So then, in a society where you can basically be an individual that's nearly doesn't need any specific group of people of strong connections around them to survive, like in that sense, then you don't need the restriction of monogamy and you don't need the restriction of relationships, I think.
I do agree that you do not need a relationship or blah blah blah. But what I don't agree is we as human beings, it's in our nature to be social.
Yes.
From an evolutionary standpoint, right? We needed it before. It's still in our nature now.
Yes.
I think it's going to be in our nature for a very, very long time.
For sure.
We just have to redefine how we are social. Take away the sex taboos. Be social any way you want, which is what's slowly happening, polyamorous. But now you have this fight between the Instagrams, which deconnects people, which makes people more weird, which makes people more frustrated, which makes people more attentive on the social structure, blah, 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 versus not nature, where you just are, and you, if you choose to sleep with two people at the same time, it's okay. And if you choose to have two girlfriends or two boyfriends at the same time, it's also okay, as long as everybody is okay. So if the solution to this whole drama would be make sex not a taboo anymore and do whatever the fuck you want with relationships and just stop being frustrated instead of choosing in regards of society's hierarchy, you know?
Do you think that's already happening or not?
It's happening on, as I said, on one branch, it's happening. On the other hand, you have this very big pushback of people that are more and more addicted to Instagram and checking out who's got the more money, who's got the best ass, and blah blah blah. And they're judging.
Is it me? Do I have the best ass?
Yes, it's you get an award after this. Tiny Buddha is proud. Yeah, I think that's it. That would be a great solution to the thing. And if this costs us monogamous relationships, I'm all for it.
Do you think don't you think at least like polyamorous or polygamous or more open relationships, if we have relationships, probably are the future? Because
I would love it if that was the future, not because then everybody learns how to take care of everybody else a little bit more. It's not my family against your family and we're neighbors and we hate each other. No, maybe I sleep with a neighbor and then we're all a big family.
How many people though would then, again, monogamy makes for a very democratizes sex in the sense that most people have access, most men have access to it. Now we make the society, we snap our fingers, and society now is either like everyone has open relationships or polyamorous relationships
or whatever you want.
No, but what will happen? But what happens to how is sex now divided amongst men? Do you think
like the bottom feeders would never have sex?
I think less people at the bottom would have sex. Yes.
I don't know, because now that sex isn't a taboo anymore, that sex isn't associated with power anymore, why wouldn't you have sex with that person? You're just with that person hanging out at a bar. Maybe she's a bottom feeder, he's a bottom feeder, or I'm the bottom feeder. I'm like, okay, why not? It's very hard to look at something taboo and try to imagine it not being something taboo anymore. Imagine it, even though sex is a million more times more special, it's like saying, yes, let's have a lunch.
Yeah.
Why would you not? There's no negative association with having sex with that person, not as it is today. That's why I think bottom feeders, high flyers, whatever, we would all be not sexually frustrated anymore.
But if that's, there's a lot of work to be done, I think, in the meantime, because like people we're not ready, I think, to at this point for sure. But how much time would it take to be in a society that we can be comfortable with having multiple relationships and our partners having sex with other people and being important to other people, and even just having having some committal situations. Basically, you have three girlfriends, your three girlfriends have three boyfriends, and also you want to have lunch with someone else. Like, how far are we away from...
That's what we're calling it now.
Having lunch. Maybe I'm having
lunch with the best ass in town. His name is Joshua.
And then,
luckily, we're walking away from this. It's becoming easy, I think. The church is losing its power. It has been losing its power and those were the main advocates for marriage and monogamy.
Yeah.
The state, they have proposed some alternative solutions when you don't want to marry a person that you can still get the benefits, pareja de hecho, or whatever you call this in English, like when you're just living together. So it's being more possible. We don't have to let ourselves be influenced too much by what we see on the social media or the movies. That's it.
Would you still have the need to feel special? Because you said just some time ago that women, or I guess guys as well, everyone has the need to feel special. But again, my question would be, is this a natural need, or is this a need that has been formed because of the society, the individualistic, capitalist, monogamist society we live in? And then let's imagine now you have three girlfriends and you're not that special because they also have three boyfriends. Like, do you really, does then the need to be special, to have that one, like, is that really something we all want?
That's a very good question.
Or is it just we just cut our roots? Like, we basically our roots are just cut off. We have so little social connection around us with people, with friends, with even our neighbors, with everyone, that we put all of our need to give love and to receive love into one person. And that's like, it's a toxic need to be special, because again, you're special in a community, or if you're in a tribe, are you special? You're not special at all. You're a valued member of the community, and probably you have sex with multiple people. I would think these tribes would have a more open sexual moral, because why otherwise would we have so much sexual feelings now towards many people? I think it makes sense that we will probably then, that need to be special, like, I don't think it exists in a society where we have better.
Right. I think you're probably right. Their specialness, the need for specialty, might be created through society too. When a woman didn't get chosen by the Lord to be her wife because she wasn't not beautiful enough, that created an evolutionary need. When the strong man in the tribe didn't choose you as his partner to have a baby, that created an evolutionary need. So if we end up in a society where sex is not a taboo anymore, where any relationship is possible, why would we need to be special? Couldn't we just work together, be together, and give love, receive love, be happy? There would not be a real need to be special anymore. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have with Instagram, is again the need for validation, to feel special, and that goes directly hand in hand with the loss of social connection around us, right? Everyone becomes more focused on the online thing, on promoting themselves online, which means everybody has less time for their actual friends, so you lose friendships. So and that increases the behavior of more need of being seen, of having more attention from people, because you are cutting the roots more and more. Like, there's no community anymore. You lose your friendships. So what do you need? You need someone else, one person, or a lot of guys, a lot of girls, to make sure you still feel good about yourself. But the moment you're happy, like you're walking the street, you just had a good meal, like the sun is shining, like, who the fuck do you need to tell you you're special and to make you feel special? I mean, when you're happy, you don't need anyone to make you feel special.
No.
If you have a fulfilling life with good social connections, why do you need to feel special? I don't think it exists. I think it's a disease, basically.
Maybe you're right, because everything that promotes individuality brings with it unhappiness. everything that promotes togetherness and being just social, just normal, that creates more happiness. So yeah, you might be right.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Is it?
I think that's saying something like this, which is very interesting. As in, that's true. Like the moment you start comparing yourself to others, you're basically telling yourself, I'm either better or worse than this person, and it suddenly becomes about you. Like the moment you compare and it starts becoming about you, but the moment you just share and give and be around others and have a good time, like you focus on others, I don't think. Maybe you feel special by making other people feel good, you know? I don't know, that's
maybe we have to forget about the word special and just replace it with the word feeling good, you know?
I think, at least, Luciano, I want to end this by saying, I think you're special.
Thank you. So do I, and I hope this one we recorded.
I really hope we record this one as well.
And I will never forget that you're the best Iceman.
And that you're a bottom feeder.
Eyes on Growth is an original podcast produced by Inkululeku Studios, hosted by Joshua Mulendakes and Luciano Anz, editing by Sofia Vicente. Thank you for listening and keep an eye out for our upcoming episode.